part, we are going to call different types of functions. This like position arguments we have already learned about it. Now we are going to learn about default arguments, keyword arguments, arbitrary arguments, and they have different ways by which you can enter values to your function to execute a program. So let's go first with just positional arguments. So by default, our Python is set in a positional argument method. For example, we are writing like this: def add num. Let's say n1 and n2. So what will happen? Others we are going to return this simple function. There's some of them, and we are going to take num1 equals to user input. Let's take enter value, and after that num2 input, and then we are going to take enter value again. So we are going to input 2 times value from this, and after this what we are going to do, we are going to execute this function, print function. Now n1 and not n1 and 2, just num1. N1 and 2 are parameters. For argument we have written this. Now if you run this, let's say value 3 and 5, we got 8. Now let's run one more thing. Before that, let's print this. N1 is modulo d, and we are going to print here N1, and after that print N2 is modulo d, and then we have N2. Now if you run this, you can see that's 4, and let's say 7. So you can see N1 is 4, N2 is 7. So what is happening? It is executing like this: print add underscore num. For value of num1, we have entered 4, so it goes for 4 and 7. Now let's suppose if I reverse this, let's say if I do this num2 and this one is as num1. So now let's see what will happen. Now again same out input 4 and 7. So you can see that by switching numbers in the function when I am calling it, our function also switches function its literal values inside its function. For example, we are first passing num1 as n1 and num2 as n2. Now in this code, what will happen? They are just swapped. So now num2 is passing at place of n1 and num1 is passing at place of n2. So in this is a positional argument swap. So basically it is position wise. At position 1, it checks from our calling function what position. Just like this is first position, 0 index position, let's say. So at this 0 index, what is the value? So you just compare it and save it. It's like the here num2 is goes into n1, and after that is has n2. So num1 value from num1 is goes to n2. So in this way, position arguments work. So position arguments is simply is just like transferring value position by position from calling the function to defined function. It's like here. Now our next one is default argument. Now let's suppose there are many times of which when we wanted default arguments. It's like let's say I'm going to take a class record for names of the registration. Let's say we are going to do this, and let's say the EF. Let's create a simple showing of the registered. So what will happen? We are doing this name, and then CLS is just class. So what we're going to do is return name comma CLS. So let's return the string name. We are going to all enter these values in the form of string. Okay, so name plus String value is like name plus name is this name from class is registered. Let's CLS. Okay. Now let's print registered. Let's say my name is just like Prashant, and let's say my class is 8. Okay. Now if I run this, I'm going to take a class record for class 8 record for name for registration like this. Okay, now execute this. Okay, we have to pass it as string format because string cannot convert to add registers. So you can see Prashant from class 8 is registered. You can add space here for a cleaner version. Now if you run this, so you can see Prashant from class 8 is registered. Let's say someone else is there. Let's say Vishal is there, which is also from class 8 because these all are for the class 8 student. So Vishal from class 8 is registered. Now after this, let's say another student, let's say Aman. Let's say Aman, and so you can see these all are from the registered, but you can see one thing that we are every time we are passing 8 because this record of class 8. So what we can do, we can make code out like this to know that if I'm not doing anything, then it is for class 8. Now if I run this, everything is going to run like same. But now you can see Aman from class 8 is registered. So what you get for class 8, we make a default value CLS is equals to 8. So what is benefit of this? Benefit of this, if I'm not going to pass a second position argument, CLS is automatically set to 8. Now let's say if I am passing it as 12th class then. So let's see what happens. So I can see one from class 12 is registered. So most of the time what is happening, I want for class 8, I want this for class 8. So what will happen? Our program automatically selects class 8. But if I want for another class, I can also pass it like this. I can also pass like this. Someone from class 5 is registered. So in this way, default arguments are very useful because it makes your positional arguments to default. And it is useful, it's like we have seen that without passing value, it automatically select, and if you pass value, our value is replaced by itself. So in this way, default arguments can be used. Here you can see syntax like default PDF f x is equals to 10. So here default value of x is 10. So if you're not going to pass anything, x will automatically set to 10. Or in this case, we have no value default value for name, but we have the default value for CLS. So what will happen? For value of CLS, it automatically takes 8. So that's it for default arguments. Now next one is keyword arguments. So how to use keyword arguments? Okay, wait a second. So for keyword arguments, you can let's know first if it is default argument one, default parameter. Okay, now so here you can see if we run this. Now let's say if I switch this name parameter with CLS and CLS with a name. Now let's see what will happen. So you can see because at the place of CLS, now I am passing Aman. So although Aman is named for us, but our Python, what does Python is do? As for positional argument, CLS wise, first will get first one. First parameter will get first argument. So CLS will set to Aman, and second parameter will get second argument. So name is going to get 5. So in order to prevent this, what we can use it like name equals to Aman, CLS equals to 5. Now you can see. So now this time we are passing values directly to the parameter. Just like we have parameter name is name and CLS, another name is CLS. So what we are going to, we are directly assigning just like it is a variable for it. So for parameter variable name, we are going to assign a 1. For parameter variable name CLS, we are going to assign 5. So in this way, you can use keyword arguments just by setting up directly variable value. Okay, so now next one, this slide can do. Okay, we have one more example there. Let's say DEF. We're going for power x raised to power y. Okay, our code are always going to execute like x raised to power y. So what it will do, it will going to return x raised to power y. Now we are going to print power, and after this we are going to like 2 raised to power 4. So according to this, what it should do, 2 raised to power 4, it will becomes 2 to 4, 4. It's like 4 times 2, 2, 4, 4, 8, 8, 16. So it becomes 16. Okay. Now if we run this, so you can see we got 16. Now let's say there's very large number of code, but you may not remember what is the position of which argument. And let's say someone switched it because we are getting y and we are getting x for this. So the function is still valid. Now if we run this, okay, 4 square is also 16. Let me change something to it. Let's say 1 raised to power 5 and 5 is and next one is 5 raised to power 1. Okay, now if I run this, so it is going to execute 1 raised to power 5, which is 1. Now let's say just like I switched, or just like you forgot, let's say what is the position of this argument. There you can see on the first one it is executed 1 raised to power 5, and the second one it is like 1 5 raised to power 1. So we can simply like do this because we know that variable is which variable is what. So we can set it like x equals to 1 and y equals to 5. So this is keyword argument example. Now if you run this, it is always going to return because parameter is now directly set to its variable, not by position argument. It is directly by keyword argument. This is, you can simply understand like we are directly assigning value of parameter y. Parameter y we are directly assigning 5 and parameter x we are directly assigning 1. So this way keyword arguments works. Now next one is arbitrary arguments. Okay, so this one is used to accept any number of arguments. For example, let's say if you try to print Python, let's say go for Python and then take a help for print function. So you can see one thing here, print star args. What does the star args means? Let's see that. If we try to execute this, if we try to execute this, def, let's say, what is this? Arbitrary function. Let's say we name this ARP and we are going to pass it like star args and we are going to print args. Just don't be confused. I'm showing that how is it going to work. Okay, now if we try to print ARB, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's take in 4 arguments. Now if I run this, you can see that it gets into the tuple. So if you try to even check, let's try to print. Okay, let me just return this value. Return args because it return none because we created void function for this. So you can see this tuple. Now even if you want to check, you can simply print type of Now if we try to run this, you can see we got class tuple for this. So basically, we got class tuple for this. So what will happen? You can access all of the arguments by taking it as in the form of tuple, and you can access like args1, args2, 0, 1, 2, 3, up to like this. Now after this, we have arbitrary keyword arguments. So what is this one? It is like dictionary. So it is going to execute when you type here double star. So for double star, it is the kwargs, and after that we have the kwargs. Now if you check the type of this, it will get dictionary because it is saving a and variable name and the value at the same time. So we can execute like, let's say name equals to large. I'm just taking the same example. Age equals to 20. Here you can see we have not defined name anywhere and not defined age anywhere. So what will happen? You can see we got name and Raj and age is 20 here. Okay, now so we are going to learn about combining all of these types of arguments. Just like we have positional argument, default arguments, keyword arguments, args, keyword only parameters, and keywords. So how this is going to work? So if you want to execute this one, you have to like first take inputs of position and then after default and then argument and then keyword argument. So this is the basic order of this. So if you want to execute this one, you have to use it like first positional and after that we have to go for default and then arguments and then keyword arguments. Let's say example for this. Here as you can see, we're taking position like 0, position 1, and then after that we are going to take default equals to 0, and after that we are taking, let's say we are also taking our arguments. So for argument, args is not necessary. This is star is necessary. Args is just like a variable name, and after that we are taking keyword arguments. This is double star. So for keyword, kw is not necessary. Kwargs, we need only double star. This one is only identifier. After that we are going to print position 0, position 1. Okay, now for default, we are going to check default. After this, we are going to print args, and after this, we are going to print keyword arguments. Now let's execute this. So this is non-void. This is void function, so we don't need to print this. It is already going to print all of this value. Let's say our first position is like A. In second position, we are going to like Python. In third position, we are going to pass nothing. It will automatically take defaults to that. And after that, okay, now after this, if we write any value, it will always goes to arguments. And now after this, let's say name equals to your own name, and then class CLS. We cannot use class here because class is keyword. So now if you execute this, okay, we have one error here. Okay, let's try to run this first. Okay, we forgot to creating the block, so therefore it's showing error. So you can see, you can read this syntax expected colon, and it is also pointing error at the end of function block. It is not saved. So you can see that we got the position 0 and position 1 as A and Python, and after that we got default as 1, and after that we got for arguments 2, 3, and 4, and after that for keyword arguments, it automatically select keyword arguments like name and class. So in this way you can combine all of the different types of arguments in single one. And also, if you can want to return multiple values, you can return multiple values like this. Def get this simple example is like returning 1 comma 2. Now if you print this, get also it is type of tuple. You can see it is again creating tuple. So returning a comma b as a 2 value, you can access it like get 0, get 1. So you can see we are accessing 0 and 1 index. After this, we have some of questions like this. You can solve by own. It is just like previous one, but we have tried with arguments and keyword arguments. So that's it for this part. And our next part is okay. Our next part it is local scope and global scope. So what is local scope? Just like let's say here function a is equals to 5 and return a. Now what we're going to do, we are going to print function of the 5. Okay, now if we run this, we got 5 here. Okay, there's no problem with this. But if we try it like this, print a. Okay, now if you run this, so it is saying name a is not defined. But you can see what at line 2 we have defined. Why is it saying like this print a is not defined? It is saying because a is the local scope of this block. This block is local scope of a. After exiting from this block, the value of a is going to be deleted. So as soon as this block is started, this block is also started. So it set a equals to 5, and after returning, value of a is returned and then deleted. So what will happen? It is not going to print anything. This is all about local scope. So local scope is the variable, it's not going to be accessed from anywhere. After this, we have global scope. So what is global scope? Any value which is defined outside of this function is global scope or in the main line. So let's say we are not going to take any value, not in x. We are going to simply print x. So as it is not passing any value, we are also not going to pass any value. Now if you run this, so I can see, okay, we have printed the x. Now if you return x, you can see value of x is going to inside the function. Why? Because x is in global scope. X is defined for everything. So x can also enter in this. So that's the difference between global scope and local scope. Global scope can be accessed from anywhere and any part of the function, while the local scope is a part of function which will be created and deleted as soon as that block is going to be end. After that, okay. Now next one is, let's say, okay. Now there's one more thing. When you want to make the changes, for example, you also want to change x plus equals to 1. So now to try to print the value of x after this, as if I have told that x is in global scope and the value of x is entered as like that. So it should return 5. Okay, it returned that error modifying a global variable inside a function. So okay, so it returned error because you are modifying a local global variable inside a local way. So for doing this, you have to use it like global x and then x plus equals to 1. Now if you're going to execute this, so you can see we got a value of 5 is going to updated at both the places. Value of x is also updated and inside this too. So whenever you are going to execute this function, the value of x globally updated by adding it 1. So that's how global keyword works. Next one is recursion. What is recursion? Recursion is basically calling a function itself. It's a very vast topic. Therefore, we are also going to cover after the next part. We are going to cover recursion. You can see function and then recursion. This pattern printing we have already done that. So after function, we are going to learn about recursion. So it is going to call itself. And next is this one is very important, which is lambda function. So how is that lambda function going to work? Lambda function is same just like the here, but instead of block, it only creates only one line. Just like here you can see that. Let's see, a is equals to lambda x print x. Now what will happen? I can write it like your hello. So it printed hello. After this, we can also do it like x comma y. Return. Okay, we are not going to write return. We are going to write x plus y. Now we are going to print the value of a, but by passing it two arguments. So you can say we got 3. So lambda is same as the def function. Lambda is also a function, lambda function, and def also a function. But lambda is one line function, and they can also say it like create a small anonymous function. Anonymous function, it is popular from Python, is popular just like anonymous function with the name anonymous function. So we can print a1 comma 2 and we will get the value of that. A1 comma 2 is going to like first parameter is x, second is y. It is going to return x plus y. Note that we are not going to write return here. We can write directly x plus y. Expression is going to return by its default. Okay, so this is all about lambda function. Next one is, so we have some of the practice functions. Let's do something more on lambda. Let's say if you want to do it like lambda x power y, and if you want x power y, and let's rename this to power, and we are going to print power x, power of 1 not 1, that's 5 and 7. So it is 5 raised to power 7. So we got this value, and this way you can use this, and we have many of things like this. Let's say go for area of circle. For this you can create area of circle like area equals to lambda, and you only need radius for this. So we have to return this like 3.14 to r into r. Now we are going to print area, let's say radius is 7. So here we got the value of that area. So in this way you can create a area of function. Okay, so now these all are the same thing. It's like simple different question. Temperature conversion, we have already done that. Swapping numbers. Okay, for swapping of numbers, this one is very different. We are going to execute with the help of the function. Now let's say taking two numbers and return p comma. That's how you can swap the function values. And let's say a is equals to 5 and b equals to 8. Now what we're going to do, we are simply making b comma a. We are simply going to make it like a comma b equals to, okay, now you can do it like this. Let's say a is equals to 5, b is equals to 7. Now we're going to create a function which is for swapping two variables. So swap, it takes nothing. So what we're going to do, global a comma b. So what happens, we have mix these two values in the global scope. So it means we are now modifying global value inside the function. So now we can do it like a comma b is equals to b comma a. And okay, now let's say doing one thing, print a comma b, and after this at the end we're also going to print a comma b. Now if you run this, So it did not swap the value. Okay, so it did not swap the value because this function is not called here. Now if we try to print this, so here you can see that first when you define the a and b, it has printed 5 and 7, and after defining value print, it prints the same 5 and 7 because we did not call the swap function till yet. Now after the second print statement, we swap the value. We call this swap function, and then when you print the value, the values are got swapped. So this way you can swap your value. And in the next part, we are going to learn about the recursion. It is very interesting topic, and it is just like a function which is calling itself, and it has lot much to do, and it makes your code even more smaller than the function using function. So that's all for this.